Sue and Rick, thanks very much. Hello, good to have you with us on this warm Thursday indeed. First, a town in mourning. Locals angry over a death they believe should have been avoided. Father of three, Graham Young, died from a bee sting, even though help was 5 minutes away. And his family's blaming Telstra. Marguerite McKinnon reports.
Obviously, the phone network here wasn't working adequately, and had it been, well, Graham would have been here today.
In a population of 20 million, just one person dies in Australia each year from a bee sting. Less than 50 people live in this small outback town. Now, one of their favourite sons is dead. Despite persistent calls for help on his mobile phone, Graham Young died a lonely death after being stung by a bee.
Our poor coverage here has actually contributed to his death.
Allergic to bee stings, Graham was aware of the dangers. His medication was sitting in his truck parked in town just 2 kilometres away. He knew a phone call to one of his mates would get the medication to him in ample time. What he fatally didn't factor in was relying on Telstra's new NextG network. Graham knew he was in trouble the moment he hit the bees and they started swarming into his cabin. He jumped out and started running for his life that way, but his car and the phone were 150 metres down there. 15 minutes later, after he started his 5 calls for help, he was dead. The first call logged on his phone was at 6:08 p.m. to the Black Stump Hotel. Staff say the hotel's phone didn't ring. A minute later, Graham called his mate, John Wesley. It didn't register on John's phone. Graham tried John again, and again it didn't get through. 10 minutes after his first attempt, Graham finally gets through to the Black Stump, but the call dropped out. Seconds later, Graham calls again and manages to tell the pub what's happened, his location, and to get his medication. Best mate Brendan Appleby says the problem was the NextG phone network.
Had his first call that he made been successful, we actually know that by the time Sharon got down there, he would have been alive for at least 6 minutes.
Publican Sharon Stewart was the first to arrive.
He was lying on the ground. His eyes were just wide open and his tongue was obviously swollen to fill his mouth up. I couldn't get any reaction from him at all.
Friend John Wesley.
I keep thinking of him down there trying to ring up and he couldn't. Yeah.
No.
Graham Young had twice complained to Telstra that his new NextG phone wasn't working as well as his old CDMA.
Well, the reason people changed is because they were told they had to change. It was, although I'm not sure if you've seen the advertising campaigns where there was threats made, you will lose your number if you don't change now.
Graham made the switch with tragic consequences. The problem is not just outback New South Wales, it's right across rural Australia. CDMA was supposed to shut down in January, but problems with its NextG replacement has forced the federal government to keep the network operating until at least April. Local Mayor Peter Laird.
What's annoying us out here is that why didn't Telstra get this new technology right before they released it? We should all still be on CDMA until this new technology is brought up to speed and can equal what we had in the past.
Andrew Cottrell is Telstra Countrywide's area manager. He says NextG does work well.
And every time we go through, we're checking that coverage and making sure that it's right, and it absolutely is performing as well or better than CDMA.
Telstra has its own figures and says Graham's first call at 6:08 p.m. did get through, and he was on the phone for 43 seconds. How 2 records could be so different is now before the coroner. Graham leaves behind 3 daughters and a town asking why.